definitely.
So yeah, season 2, episode 2 of the Over the Hill podcast. Special guest today. What name we going under?
And Fostell, DJ Naughty, Nate.
We'll go by Nate, first name basis. But
Yeah.
yeah, M. Fostell, and UK funky producer and DJ known to the masses as DJ Naughty, one of the pioneers of the scene and someone who had a couple of the biggest tracks out in that whole genre, which is, mad in itself to say for any genre, but let alone something that was as big as that. So, yeah, mate, welcome to the pod. How's life treating you in this supposed post-COVID world?
Yeah, I'm all good. You know what? Throughout the whole COVID period, well, I'll say lockdown, I was busy anyway. I think I was more busier in the studio than ever. So yeah, I can't really
I think a
complain.
lot of people have said the same thing, just in terms of, if you're working a day job or if you're always constantly doing bookings and stuff, I think it's been beneficial for a lot of people to have the time to sit down and maybe finish off projects that they never really had time to, or even start new ones. And yeah, man, I think through tragedy can come triumph for a lot of people. And I think it's good that some people have been able to turn it around. Obviously you go way back, so I suppose the only way to do this is to start at the very beginning. We first met around probably 2007, 2008 when you jumped on Fat Beats.
Yeah.
But I'm assuming you were around for a little bit before then. How did you get into, urban music, dance music? What were your early influences, and, how did the DJ and producing thing, become a part of your life?
Well, I got into music, I think like how nearly everyone did, Michael Jackson. So yeah, I was listening to him a lot, but I was listening to him in a different way to everybody else. I was listening to more of the production behind him than his vocal talent, and watching the experience of Michael Jackson dancing. It was more the production behind him that I was very much more interested in. And then I started getting into stuff like Jodeci for the same reasons, not because of the singing, but because the production behind, and started learning about producers from the likes of Dr. Dre, Neptunes, Teddy Riley. Who else was there? Jimmy Jam and Lewis, Terry
Obviously,
Lewis.
behind Michael Jackson, the majority of the time it was Quincy Jones, like one of the best of all time.
Yeah, Quincy Jones. When I got into Michael Jackson properly, though, it was like around the Bad to Dangerous era. So it was like Quincy Jones and Teddy Riley at the time.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, I was very much into production from like a very, very young age. And that's what really got me into music in general. And then with dance music, it was things like, say, like Maloko, Spiller. I was listening to a lot of proper funky house at the time,
Yeah.
and garage, of course.
Yeah. Obviously, the same era. A lot of people, when we talk about UK funky, which obviously we'll get onto, original funky house was that, Mojo, Spiller, Moloko, Groove. That's what we called funky house when we were younger. And then
Yeah.
obviously UK funky become a different thing, and now I think people conflate the two. But yeah, no, it's massive influential era for me as well. So probably some of the earliest tracks I remember mixing were probably tracks like Mojo Lady and Spiller.
Yeah.
A lot of my dad's old house records and stuff when he was DJing back in them times. So yeah, good times all around. And some of the biggest hits, I mean, I think Spiller was actually, if I remember this rightly, you might have seen this as well. I think Defective posted it on Instagram. It's the first ever track downloaded and played on an iPod.
Serious?
Yep, Spiller Groove Jet, the first
Oh
ever
wow.
Sophia Lisbeck on the vocals, mate. Apparently, I don't know, I saw Defective post something about it the other day, but I think it's the first ever track that was played on the original iPod. So moment of history there. So
Yeah.
obviously being into that music, were you more drawn to production, or was DJing an early thing for you?
I think I was a DJ first. I always like had a producer's mind. Like, I knew how to play keys and go on piano. I knew how to play guitar as well and drums, but I didn't know my way around the DAW at the time.
Yep.
But once I started learning about DAW, I was in my teenage years. I learned quite fast. I was on like Cubase at the time. So yeah, but I was a DJ first. I was always collecting records, going far and wide to get like the rarest tunes, or if I couldn't get it from a certain area, I'll be going like from North London to Croydon, or be going to Uptown Records a lot. So yeah.
Yeah, you have to do what you got to do to get like exclusives, white labels, anything. I remember when they
Yeah, yeah.
first like the first early times of actually being able to order stuff online and it be reliable. Like
Yeah.
even that was just a crazy thing. Yeah, headed to Croydon, Big Apple, obviously DNR as well. Legendary shops that, you know, I think DNR have still got a shop, an actual physical shop, but
Yeah, they do.
so many famous places, you know, Rhythm Division and all these different kind of things. Yeah, and as you say, like Uptown and different places like that. It's crazy to think about what once was, but it's now just available at, you know, it's just available at the click of a button, essentially. Obviously, it isn't.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, and the amount of money that we were spending going to the record shop, like you buy something like 10 records, you think that's a lot of money to buy. Now you're buying 10 tunes and it's just peanuts.
Yeah, it's the same. It's the same as buying one record now, essentially. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
and that filters down to the artists are not getting paid as much, but I'm sure we can waffle on about that a little bit later on.
Yeah.
So yeah, early DJing and stuff. Were you getting like house party bookings, and did you manage to jump on any radio shows or anything like that in your early days?
Yeah. My first booking was for Bob Geldof, actually. I was yeah. It was crazy, isn't it? So that was my first DJ booking. It was from a friend of a friend. He saw me DJing at a record shop, Planet Fat. I was doing like a little bit of work in there. So I was mixing, and a guy just came and said, I've got this bar, and it's owned by myself and Bob Geldof. Would you want to play here?" And I was 16 at the time. I wasn't even legal to go there. And I was like, yeah, sure. So went to his bar, played there, and yeah, everybody had a good time. But I was on Pirate Radio as well. I went shortly after that, actually. I did Bob Geldof's bar before I did Pirate Radio. Shortly after that, I went on Y2K at a show.
Okay, because that was, where was that? Was that based around locally around North London at the time?
Yeah, Islington, around that Finsbury Park area, Caledonian Road, and Holloway.
Bloody hell, going way back in the day.
Yeah.
So in terms of, was it just mainly garage, or were you still playing a little bit of the house stuff as well? Because obviously by that point, I mean, in terms of Pirate Radio, the funky house stuff had kind of, it was so big by the end of the 90s, early 2000s that,
Yeah.
you know, it obviously it was getting played in certain underground places, but the bigger sound at that time was still garage on Pirate Radio. Were you more on the garage side at this point?
Yeah, I was on more of the garage side, but I was playing a lot of old school, so it was kind of like house and garage at the time. So it was still like very 4/4. But to be honest, even the sounds that I was playing, like you could play it in house sets, and they were house producers and they were on house labels, so it was a lot of strictly rhythm songs. Yeah. So they'll still be classed as house, but they'll be on garage sets, and people call it garage.
Yeah. It's something I noticed. I was watching, I mentioned it on the podcast a couple of times before, but I was watching the Rewind Forever garage documentary that it was on TV a few years back. And actually the first song that plays in the background of the documentary was Hard Drive, Deep Inside. And I remember watching it thinking, what a way to start a documentary about UK garage by playing a US house track that was like produced by fucking
Yeah, exactly. But even that Buddha, that Buddha song, it's a house song, but people call it garage, and Morel's Groove as well. Everyone will say it's garage.
Yeah, blues for you. All of that early stuff was definitely house music, but you know.
Yeah. It's house music, but yeah.
So obviously that US house and garage sound was a big thing for you. Any favorite particulars that you'd like to pull out of the bag on a regular occasion back in the day?
It's things that I still play now, actually, like Brighter Days. I'll play Morel's Groove as well. Even Tough Jam just gets better. Our class that as house.
Yeah,
So
it is in a sense. I mean, I think the only real difference, and obviously being a producer, you'll probably understand what I'm saying, but I think the only real difference is the actual bass lines, is the difference in the depth and the continuity of the bass lines. Whereas in house music, especially, you know, in terms of that funky house, it was never really about it. You know, you had drops, but the drop was never coming to like a massive bass line. Whereas like something
yeah,
like Just Gets Better, it's got that like it's like the underlying sub bass that was more
yeah,
driving the actual track as opposed to the chords and the glitz and the vocal and stuff.
yeah. But for me, if Kerry Chandler plays it, it's house. So when I when I heard him play it, I was like, yeah, okay, it's a house song now.
Yeah, music's music though. I mean, you can jump on. I mean, I jump on radio now, and if I'm doing a set on my own, then it tends to be one kind of thing. But you know, sometimes you can just effortlessly float from soulful house to US garage and be playing. You could be playing upfront soulful house and be playing, you know, something from Tough Jam, even like within 3 or 4 tracks. You know what I mean? If you know how to progress properly, then yeah, it is what it is. So obviously Y2K. How long were you on Y2K for?
I think just over 2 years
Okay.
I was there. And then afterwards I went to Touch FM. And while I was on Touch, I was going on internet radio at the same time. So I went on Axe FM first, and then I think it was Smoking from Fat Beats. He always used to listen to Axe FM.
Okay.
And he was like, yeah, I really like your style of DJing. Would you like to come on Fat Beats? So yeah, that's where it all started.
Bloody hell. So yeah, that was around. So we're talking probably 2007, as I say, 2008, roughly them times, because that's when I was around there, and I remember you coming in. Um, Obviously, at that time, you were hooked up with Heartless Crew as well.
Yeah,
Did
yeah.
that connection come from like the Y2K days, or was that something that came along a little bit later?
No, it came before came to K. Bushkin, I knew Heartless when I was young as well. So Bushkin took a liking to me when I was a teenager. He heard one of my demos, and it was him who got me on YTK in the first place. So yeah, that's where it all started. But me really aligning myself with Y2K. I mean, Heartless Crew was around 2006.
Okay.
So yeah, and then afterwards he took me out to Iron Apple in 2007.
Bloody hell. In at the deep end straight away.
Yeah. That's what he said he was going to do. He's going to throw me in the deep end and yeah, see where it goes from there.
Sink or swim in it. Like one or two things is going to happen, bro. It's going to go one way or the other. But so obviously around that time, the same time, the emergence of UK funky happened. So you had, you know, I think two of the earliest tunes that I always cite as being proper actual UK based UK funky tracks, because you had people were already playing some of the defected stuff, copyright, and some of the, you know, like just them early almost broken beat tracks as well. Bugs in the Attic had some stuff and that, but it was never really classed as a separate genre. But then I remember 2 tracks kind of changed the game. One was Invasion Crew Takeover, and then the other one for me was probably NG and Katie B or Baby Katie. Tell Me. That track was
Yeah.
ridiculously huge, and that was like I remember hearing that in about end of 05 maybe. I'd have to talk to NG properly and confirm, but I think I remember hearing it around then. For you, what was the process behind getting involved in that scene, and what drew you to it? And you know, if you can, let's break down the early tracks, and let's break down QuickTime and give us the full story on your involvement with the early emergence of the scene.
Yeah, well, prior to that, when I was on YTK, I started playing a bit of soulful house and funky house as well. So like the My's, Drop Pressures, and it was Pioneer who got me into it. He's like, look, like I'm fed up of playing old school garage. Like we're always playing old school garage raves. We're always in the room too. That let's start something new. And I was like, all right, cool. I'll be up for that. So me and him used to do a lot of back-to-back sets on YTK. playing a lot of soulful and funky house, and some of them sounded quite calypso-ish, and then broken beat came along as well at the same time. So we had Bugs in the Attic, um, co-op production stuff as well, and yeah, we're playing a lot of that stuff. And slowly, you started seeing people from like around our circle playing the music as well. So NG started playing it. The DJ Gregory's the 10-1s, the stuff by Hard Drive as well, and he wanted to make his own thing out of it. He was like saying, "Oh, you know what? I want to do a genre, a whole new genre where it's kind of like a fusion between house and funky house and garage." Sorry. So we got Katie B, who was then Baby Katie, and Versatile on the track. So those times when you were hearing soulful house and funky house, you didn't really hear an MC. It was like you might hear one on, say, a Basement Jaxx track or a Groove Armada song, but it'll be in a certain style, if you know what I mean. But NG wanted to make it more house, but with a garage twist, like make it very, very UK type, because we had MCs and hosts like on our sets, like Dog Tanyan, Spidey G, Gemini at the time. But he wanted to bring through Versatile. And so he made Tell Me. For me, that was probably, you could say, the first like official funky track.
Yep.
But at the time, no one really called it funky. It didn't have a name at that point, but by default, we called it funky because the ravers were raving to funky house, funky and soulful house. And people, just for abbreviation purposes, called funky. But for me, the initial songs for funky would be Apple's Dirty Dance, that he did a dub plate for Super D on. Then yeah, and Edgy Tell Me around the same period. I don't know which one came first, and which one people listened to first, but it was those two. And then Invasion Crew came along, and it had that garage edge. Like it was like kind of like post garage, really. And when I came along just shortly after as a producer, because as a DJ I already had made a name. Funny enough, I was actually the first DJ to ever play Tell Me. He gave it to me when I was playing it at Ministry of Sound, and he was like, "Yeah, can you play this song for me?" And so I played it. It didn't really get much of a reaction, but I told him, "You know what, it's a good song. Like, I think it will do well. You just have to push it out more." And the way NG promoted that song was like how a promoter rave at the time. So he made mixed CDs. He was going out to clubs, handing CDs out all the time with the name of the song, and everybody started knowing about Tell Me after. But when I came with QuickTime, was just around that same period, just a little bit after. I actually made the song, but I didn't show it to anybody. But one day I went to Pioneer's house and Super D was there, and I showed it to them together, like a few tracks actually, and they were just like, "Yeah, this could run." Like, they were just excited for that song. And Pioneer said, "You know what? I think this tune's going to be a game changer for the scene." And yeah, he wasn't wrong.
Yeah, crazy. Like the reaction it gets even to this day. There's a couple remixes of it and that are decent, but that original version, the first time I heard it, I was like, it was similar to the first time I hear like you know, some of the Apple tracks, or the first time I heard Tell Me, or the first time, like QuickTime's one of them tracks that stands out as a seminal record for that scene.
Yeah.
I've told the story once or twice before on here of when I initially got sent a promo. It was because I was already on Fat Beats, and obviously we had a few connections, and some of us were getting stuff sent through. So I initially got a promo of Do You Mind, which was obviously the first big one for Crazy Cousins. And I remember playing it, and it was months and months before it come out. I remember playing it, And because we had the garage mix as well, and some people were playing like the bassline stuff at that time, because obviously garage had kind of filtered off. But obviously I was a more of a soulful house DJ, and hearing that I was like, right, this is soulful house but with more of an edge. And
Yeah.
then I remember playing it and I was battering it every week because I had a residency in Enfield, and I was like, let me play it because it was quite a young crowd. If they like it, then you know it's going to do something. I ain't gonna lie, wasn't really doing anything. This was about springtime. Anyway,
Yeah.
everyone goes away in the summer. They all go Malia, Cos, Zante, Napa, wherever they've gone. So during that time, trying to DJ and have a residency in an area where you're relying on young people 18 to 25 that have all got away for the summer, it was a nightmare. But loads more tunes started creeping through. And then by the time everyone come back, all I got asked for by the same people that hadn't danced to it when I played it before, all I got asked for
Schema.
was do you mind? And then
Yeah.
obviously off the back of that, everything else fell into place, because by that point MA1 was coming with the bangers. You know, you had tracks out, Rosca started having stuff out. It was like this explosion of, I mean,
Yeah.
Crazy Cousins had a track out every fucking week at that point. It was insane. What was that time like for you, obviously being at the forefront of it, having a name from North London Pirate Radio, having a name from the association with obviously Heartless Crew, and then obviously having your own stuff, and still being, you know, fairly young in the scene at that point? How was that for you in terms of busyness and sort of handling where things had gone from 0 to 100 real quick?
Um, yeah, for me, it was crazy. It was a very busy period where everything was just go, go, go. Like bookings here, there, and everywhere. I'll be playing 3 different cities in one night. So I'll be going Birmingham, Nottingham, then Bristol. Just doing these crazy long drives. There wasn't no stopping because with me as well, it was expected to have another big tune all the time. So me and Crazy Cousins in 2008, I think we actually held a cornerstone in Funky, to the point where it's like you either hear a Crazy Cousin track or you hear a DJ Naughty track, a Crazy Cousin remix or a DJ Naughty remix. Like you didn't really hear much from other people until I'll say later 2008, 2009. That's when more and more people started coming through, like the Ill Blues,
Yeah.
Little Silvers as well. And then, yeah. But for me, it was just a really busy period. I was the first one to get a remix by a major record label as well. And for a track that was a remix to chart in Funky, that was for H2O. So not my version charted, but the original charted. And from there, I started getting a lot of major remixes, to the point where I ended up telling the labels, like, look, there's more than me. There's this group called Crazy Cousins, a duo, Flutes and Paleface. And I think you need to check them out. So once I did that, they forgot about me, and then got them to do nearly everything after that. But yeah, it's all good, man. I'm happy for them.
Yeah, it's something I was going to ask actually, because I see it a lot of the time. Obviously, I've been around, you know, little backstory you might not know. My dad was a DJ, so I was around from like very early age, seeing the inner workings of things. Obviously knew quite a lot of artists and garage artists. They've been on a podcast, people that have grown up around. And obviously done so much of radio and stuff for the last 16, 17 years myself. I've been through a lot of scenes. I've been alongside people. I've seen politics. I've seen inner workings. And I've seen in certain scenes and industries, or certain offshoots within our industry, there can be, it's not just like a healthy competition. It can be quite a bitchy place to be sometimes. I was wondering, because I was never really too involved in the funky scene. Obviously, I had all the music,
Yeah.
knew quite a lot of the DJs. What was it like for you? Was there a sense of driving yourself to be better because you had not competition, because you were cool with them, but competition from the likes of Crazy Cousins and the other people that were coming up? Was it more of a sense of trying to push yourself to be better, or did you ever feel that there was like a little bit of an undertone of people were kind of trying to give you the elbow a little bit and step on your toes?
No, I didn't think anyone was trying to step on my toes. No, like everyone seemed like they liked me and what I was doing, and I wasn't in competition with anyone or everyone. Like I was just doing my thing. I was always quite like someone who's by themselves.
Yeah.
Like I wasn't really mixing around with everyone, but I was cool with everyone as well at the same time. No arguments, nothing like. Yeah, I didn't really look at competition.
Yeah.
I'd rather just like work with them or push what they're pushing and all that kind of stuff. Because yeah, I did care about the scene and where people went. Like I wanted to see the people around me doing well.
Yeah. Yeah. No, mate, it's the best way to be. It's the best attitude to have. That scene was, is funny. I was talking on a few episodes, it was a while back now, about the parallels for me personally when I look at the scene of UK funky and I look at UK garage, and you watch the progression that comes from, you know, those early few tracks. It has this massive boom. Everyone, I mean, you kind of alluded to yourself, everyone sort of takes on the commercial remixes. It's everywhere, it's charting. If it's not the remix on the official like record that comes out, it's the main track that comes out and it hits the charts itself. It's something that burnt very brightly, but it did burn out very quickly as well. It almost left almost as quick as it went. Now, it influenced a lot of other sounds. I would say that the sounds that come afterwards, like your Red Lights and people like that who were making the hard stuff, and the Future Jungle sound, I would say a lot of that was influenced by the UK funky and the Little Silvers and people like that. For you, when things started to die down and, you know, everything kind of leveled out and sort of, you know, died off a little bit, what do you think that was? Do you think it just ran out of steam, or do you think maybe we live in a time in the 2000s where we get rid of things as quickly as we took them on board? It's something that always really, you know, stuck with me, because I was still playing UK funky until, well, I still play it now, but it's like it went, and when it went, fuck me, did it just go. I know we moved into the deeper side of house and, you know, the Rinse FM sound and the sort of the zinc type music and T Williams, deep technology, all that kind of stuff sort of took on a new life and everything else. Was it just a natural evolution that meant it ended, or do you think that it was only ever meant to last so long? What's your thoughts on, like, I don't want to say the death of it because it sounds negative, but what's your thoughts on like the sort of ending?
Yeah, it was a natural evolution. Like sonically, the music was changing, the raves are changing. You know, there was a little bit of stigma attached with names that people were booking. Like it's not the DJ's fault or the promoter's fault that stigma attached to them, but it was just events. But there were so many things. There wasn't really much structure between everyone in the scene. You know, like a lot of things happened organically, but it was a very young scene. The producers were very young. Like myself, Flukes, we just barely come out of our teens, and Little Silver as well. So, like, the people who are making the music and the tunes that are big in the clubs, the people who were making it were at the bottom of the pecking order. So you have the PAs, top of the lineup. They're the biggest thing. All they do is one track, and they're charging the most out of everyone. Then you have DJs, and on the flyer, sometimes you have the MCs above DJs. There'll be like this DJ with this MC, rather than, you know, the DJ lineup and MC. And a lot of DJs that were, well, a lot of producers that were DJs as well weren't getting bookings or on the lineups with those names who are just DJs. So I think that was a big issue, because at that point, a lot of the producers were getting disheartened, thinking, you know what, we're making this music and we're getting nowhere. I think only myself, Genius, and Crazy Cousins were the ones who were getting loads and loads of bookings. But Crazy Cousins more in different lineups, and Genius here and there, but he didn't really care about that anyway, because he had his empire in Rinse. But so I'll say more so just me really getting those bookings. And I could see it from the producers, they're getting annoyed. And then when they saw Roscar doing something, playing across the world, going Australia, doing US tours, Asia tours, those producers saw that light and thought, you know what, I want a piece of what Ross is doing. And then sonically the sound started changing. They wanted to follow his formula. Whether it worked or not, I don't know. But yeah, like they just didn't want to carry on doing what they were doing because they weren't really getting a look in, really. They were being overlooked most of the time. So I think that was the start of something crumbling. Like, I'm a big believer of nurturing and nourishing people, especially if you want them to grow and evolve with you. And if you want to evolve yourself, you need to look after the people surrounding you. And if that doesn't happen, it's not going to work.
Yeah, you've got to water it. Do you know what I mean? At the end of the day, you just have to. Like, if you want it to grow, you've got to water it. It's as simple as that. And yeah, it's something I noticed. I mean, a lot of it was blamed on like the skank tunes because they kind of became the evil villain, if you like. I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't. Aside from Migraine Skank, which is it's a Kerry Chandler track and a little clip of Hard House Bantam.
It's DJ
Gregory, sorry,
yeah.
So apart from that, the rest of them I couldn't stomach myself. And I remember thinking to myself at the time as well, like, do you know what? That's probably gonna be the peak of it.
Yeah.
And then so obviously that became the main villain, but I just remember the music obviously did change, but yeah, for me it just became a little bit like there seemed no direction. As you say, there was no real structure to anything. So it's interesting to hear your thoughts on it, because I think out of that though, it kind of went into, at least some of the artists definitely went into what then, a year or so later became this huge scene that erupted out of London, East London more specifically, the sort of deep tech London house sound, that obviously, Radford and Audio Rehab just shot out the blocks early doors.
Yeah.
Usain bolted it as fast as they could, as far ahead as everyone else at the time. So sound did evolve, but yeah, a lot of great artists just sort of cracked on making that kind of music. For yourself, obviously, you would have still carried on getting your bookings and whatnot afterwards, but did you have any sort of plan? Did you feel like you needed to take a break? Was there any sort of direction you particularly wanted to go in once the flame kind of died a little bit?
Yeah, like, do you know what? Even prior to that, like, even before QuickTime, I wanted to switch up. But when QuickTime came, it was one of those things where I just started riding the wave. I couldn't stop at that time.
You'd be stupid not to. Like,
yeah.
Take that opportunity to be where you were. You're throwing money down a drain.
Yeah, exactly. And like, I came that far just to stop. And I was like, all right, cool. Let me just carry on. And when, you know what, for me, it didn't really slow down that much. I was getting the same bookings. It was just that things weren't progressing now. I was just staying the same. That I had that glass ceiling that I just couldn't break through. So what ended up happening, I made a track called Baby as DJ Naughty, and I released it on S02E02, that's Pioneer's label. It was completely different to any other DJ Naughty track I did. I wanted to see the reaction, which was good, but it was something that I knew that was going to happen. People would like the song, but wouldn't like the name of the person who did it. So I thought to myself, okay, look, my sound is changing. The funky people don't really like this song. They don't like how I've changed up. And people don't like the name of the person making the song. So let me start doing Fostell. I wanted to do it for years. And yeah, it's worked in my favor to change up as well.
So obviously, name change, style of music changed. I started coming across your stuff. I knew what you're doing because we've always been, friends on Facebook and whatnot. But I really started paying attention to your stuff when you started releasing tracks with the Get Twisted guys and some of the early tracks you had with them. How did because obviously like Steph's been on the podcast. How did the link up between you and the Get Twisted guys, aka Steph and Alex, Tough Love? How did that link up come between you guys?
Funny enough, me and Steph knew of each other from Funky days because he used to make Funky as well.
Yeah, sick Funky as well.
Yeah. So we knew of each other. We hadn't met though. And one of my friends, he used to do raves in Brighton, and booked like these massive names, like from Justin Martin to MK, and Hannah Once. And he booked Tough Love, and he had to pick Stefan out from I think hotel or airport, and they were speaking, and my friend Nick, big up Nick, from Love Beat, he must have said, yeah, I got a friend, and Fostell, he used to be DJ Naughty, like he's got like all these decent house tunes you might like, and Steph was like, yeah, I know Naughty, just tell him to send over the tracks, and yeah, we'll see what we'll do. So I hollered that Steph on his email address. They sent the email address over to me, and yeah, they signed the first Fostell EP, Bad Habit EP. And then from there, I just gained a relationship with them. They looked after me well, actually. They booked me for their events, made me a resident for Get Twisted. Played that multiple times, and Ministry of Sound as well with them. And I'm still very good friends with them now. So yeah, man, it was a good relationship.
Yeah, I remember coming to, I DJ'd at one of their events when they had Egg, and I can't remember, it was in the other room at the back, but it was when turned, you remember they turned the garden into like an actual rave as well?
Yeah.
I think you were playing there that night, and Blaze, I was talking to Blaze about this a while back. Yeah, like them Get Twisted parties where, I mean, first of all, I did get twisted. But like that wasn't the entire reason I enjoyed my night. I enjoyed the night because the vibe in there was just absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
Them guys, their early parties. I mean, I haven't been out on a night out with them for ages, but yeah, some of them early parties, the ones that time that you was around them, fucking hell, Jesus.
Yeah. I think for a house, the Get Twisted ones are up there with one of my favorite ones.
Yeah, for sure. So where did you go? Where did you sort of head to after that? Because for me, in terms of like full-time DJing and everything else, I've been out of the loop for a while, and I've probably forgotten more than I can remember. So I think we're talking like 2014, 2015 times. Where did you sort of head from there?
So I stuck with Get Twisted for about 2-3 years, and then after I made a song with Natalie Wood called Circles, and I showed it to Steph and Alex, and Alex came back to me and said, this tune is probably the best song that you made, but I think it needs a bigger home than Get Twisted. I could try and A&R it for you, but I don't know who to give it to. So it was one of those tracks I kind of sat down for a while with. Like all he heard was like the original demo of it, because that's what I used to do with them. I always just send like just little ideas and see what they thought and how I could change it up and what I can do. So yeah, I sent it to Alex, and he said he would A&R it for me. But literally the day after, I get a call saying that Idris Elba wants the song, and that I'll have a conversation with him. So I met him at his party, and it was like saying, he wants to sign Circles, and on top of that, remix it as well. So yeah, ended up getting a few releases on the Idris Elba's label, Seven Wallace.
Bro, do you know what? It's a mad thing for me to even like think about String a Fucking Bell being in house music, bro. Like, Luther is producing house. Like, I can't. It's something that, you know, like, it doesn't, you know, it's nothing that I dislike or anything like that. Some of his stuff's absolutely amazing, but it's crazy to me to hear them link ups there. What was the process like working with someone on that kind of level of fame? It's just bizarre to me.
Yeah, do you know what? It was more hearing that he wanted to work with me. Like, I was baffled at first because I was like, I knew Idris did music, always into music, but I didn't know he was into house like that. And that was like everyone's response as well. And so, yeah, it was just crazy. I was like at a point thinking, where am I gonna go from here? Like, Get Twisted said that I'm basically making music that they think deserves a bigger home, but doors aren't opening for me either. So what do I do? And just literally out of the blue, that came. I just couldn't believe my luck. I was like, out of everything to happen, Idris Elba's actually hollered at me and wants to work with me. And then even when we had the first phone call, he was just like, look, I really like your stuff. I think you can go very far. I think you can actually basically go mainstream. And I want to be part of your journey. So yeah, man, after big Idris up, man, he's helped me a lot. Like, where he's put stuff in front of me, and you know, like certain songs, he's like had so much belief in that he's put it in front of major names, like massive names that I never thought I could possibly work with. And they've actually liked it, wanting to work with me. Some fell through, but like the biggest person he's got to work with me other than himself is MK. So yeah, man, like I can't be more grateful for the stuff that he's done for me, man.
What did you get up to with MK?
He did a remix for me, After All. It came out in 2020, featuring Amelia C. So I met MK before, but I had to remind him who I was, and he's like, "Oh my gosh, I did a remix for you." Yeah, man, like big up. But yeah, he did a remix. It was meant to actually be original. Funny enough, it was meant to be a collaboration between me and MK, but at the time, Sony said that he was doing too many collaborations with this guy and that guy. They want him to do some stuff by himself at the moment. So he's like, yeah, cool. Like, look, I'll just do it. Let's make it a remix. And so even that for me is a big look. Like, how many people can say they got a remix from MK?
Bro, it's more time it's people taking old acapellas or samples of MK, cutting them up and putting them on their own SoundCloud. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
To be able to have someone like on that level remix for you is that's crazy. That's something that throughout an entire journey, no matter where you go or where you've come from, like, that's obviously got to be a massive highlight for you. You mentioned it there, like him talking about you know, a particular big record label kind of sort of making him go in a different direction or changing things and stuff like that. And other people that I've spoken to on the podcast have said similar things happen to them. For yourself, the higher up the ladder you've gone, when you're doing, even if it's just, you know, one job, like you've been commissioned to remix for this person or that person or whatever, how do you find that process? Is there ever been any times where it's been stifling and you've not wanted to deal with them, or has it largely been plain sailing? Have you gone through other people maybe to get, you know, things done? Because I'm just always interested in, you know, how the process is the higher up.
I've never had problems with labels, to be honest. I've had more problems with artists and management.
Promoters.
No. You know, promoters is one thing that you know. I think, you know what, with promoters, when people saying like politics in the music scene, like, and they mention promoters, like they don't know politics. Like, once you're writing contracts and, you know, talking percentages, that's when the politics come in. Like, dealing with promoters is just cowboy stuff. Like, you know, you're just dealing with normal human beings now. When it's contracts, you're dealing with your life. That's actually politics, because, you know, like when you're signing stuff, you have to remember this is like your pension. This is not just a one-off thing where you could just walk away from someone and say, I don't want to work with you no more. This is like your product, and, you know, it can affect other stuff in the future for you as well. You don't know what you're signing, and you could be signing your life away. So yeah, man, like promoters definitely not politics. It's just cowboys.
Yeah, you see it happen though at the highest level. I mean, it's a far out example, but you look at someone like Taylor Swift. She's
Yeah,
she's now having to re-record her entire back catalogue because
yeah,
of
yeah,
a shit deal, like because of someone essentially just owning you. Like it's
yeah, yeah.
mad. So if you're literally any young artists out there that might listen to this or watch this podcast, like always read the small print and get someone who knows what they're doing to read the small print as well, because there are some dodgy, like you can't. They're not even cowboys, bro. They're demons, absolute
Yeah,
demons.
yeah, yeah, yeah. They're monsters. Like promoters are the cowboys.
Yeah.
Like when you're working with executives, you're working with monsters. So they're people who just do not care about your life at all.
Yeah.
So
There's a million and one examples of dodgy promoters out there, and I guarantee you, we could sit and do an entire podcast on iffy promoters, but we are trying at least for season 2 because we called a few people out on season 1, but at least for season 2 we're trying to remain positive. So in terms of promotions and different club nights that you've played at, and indeed any festivals and stuff, what have been some real highlights for you going all the way back to the start until now?
playing in Germany, I think. I was playing in Bremen. That was like wicked. It was like people who just didn't even know who I was. Yeah, that ended up starting to like me a lot and follow what I'm doing. They started following my pages and wanting to see where I'm going and asking me back all the time. Sweden was another one. It wasn't a packed event, but I started gaining a little bit of fan base. And the reason why I liked it out there, because I was in Gothenburg and there was posters of me absolutely everywhere. Like I was just seeing my face. I was like, oh my gosh, I feel famous. And it was one of those things where wherever I was walking, people were just like looking and like pointing, kind of thing. Oh, he's the guy that's famed from UK and all that kind of thing. It was just, yeah, it was crazy.
Even if they don't know who you are, they're just
Yeah,
like,
I
that's the
was.
guy,
Yeah,
that's the
yeah,
guy.
just that guy. Yeah, 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 yeah. It was literally that. Like I was waiting for an autograph signing and whatnot. Like it was like that. All eyes on me. And I'll say Iron Upper as well, because when Heartless Crew brought me out there, it was a big game changer. I think all the bookings that have um, got gained me attention has meant more to me than say being on a massive lineup with big names, because for me it's like a catalyst of events happening from it, and I can actually pinpoint when things change for me as well.
Sick. In terms of UK, I've been personally fortunate enough to play pretty much everywhere apart from never got to play at Fabric and never played at 338. Apart from those two, I've pretty much played everywhere else. I've got some personal favorites myself, but for you, in terms of UK clubs and London clubs, what's your favorite place like to throw down?
Ministry of Sound, man. The sound in there is perfect.
It is, isn't it?
No, yeah. I think it's got the best sound, 100%.
Yeah, it's absolutely sick. Even if the night's not that good, I will always enjoy going there because it's just the actual sound in and of itself, and that main room is just when it's on point. Now, I've been to some nights there where it's been a bit dead out, but when that main room is on point and it's a good night, Jesus
Yeah,
Christ.
You can't fault it. Like it's the most popular club in the UK for a reason, because of it. The perfection behind it. It's so crystal clear. It's not even like loud as such. It's just crystal clear.
Yeah.
Perfect.
It's exactly what you want. It's one of them places where if you can walk away from dancing near a speaker for the majority of the evening and not have ringing ears when you leave, then you know the system's been set up properly,
Yeah, 100%.
Industry leading for a reason.
Mhm.
So yeah, obviously a seriously long time in the game already. But I've noticed, well, before we get on to the future, I've noticed that recently you jumped on a UK funky party. because there was like a sort of reunion thing. What was the deal with that? I meant to ask. I was chatting to MA1 a couple of nights ago, and I meant to ask him about it, but it got late and didn't really get to finish the conversation. But what was the deal there? What was who was behind that, and how did that feel to be back amongst pretty much everyone and doing a UK funky event again?
Yeah, it was nice. I think it was Genius who thought about doing it. Like the kind of lineup it was a Genius like period, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But yeah, like they just hollered at me on Instagram, and yeah, I just said, yeah, cool, I'll do it. I don't mind. Like it's a privilege to, be asked to play for Rinse. I wasn't even on the station. I only did like guest sets and whatnot. But yeah, it was nice to be asked to do it. It was a good event as well. It was quite vibesy from what I saw. But yeah, like I didn't really get to see everyone that I wanted to see. But yeah, I have to give Rinse their props. Like they wanted to bring back something and introduce it to a younger generation that missed out on it.
Yeah.
Because even when I speak to the new generation of funky producers, they're telling me how they used to listen to me when they just started secondary school. I was like, wow, like I feel old now.
Way to make you feel old for sure. Yeah,
yeah, exactly. They're like, yeah, you're an OG in the game. I'm like, well, nah, I didn't even think of it like that. It doesn't feel like it was that long ago when I was making those songs. So, but yeah, it was nice to meet a lot of the younger generation as well, and for them to kind of experience what we saw. It might have not been exactly the same, but just having that little experience.
Yeah, man. Dusting off the headphones as DJ Naughty once again.
Yeah.
If it comes up again, is it something you'd like to continue doing, like the UK funky stuff?
Yeah, I don't mind. Like if it's on demand, give the people what they want. That's all I'll do, man. Like I wouldn't really say no to anyone. Like if the money's right as well, I'll do it. Yeah. Or if the event is good to do, then I'll do it.
Yeah, it's got to be worth getting out of bed for. So
yeah.
In terms of current projects and the immediate future moving into the new year, what have you got going on, and are you playing out anywhere over the Christmas and New Year period?
I had a Christmas booking that just got cancelled. I think it's like political reasons, but I won't say too much on here. Also, yeah, like a lot of the events I'm doing now, I'm doing a lot of corporate stuff. Like it's kind of like where the money's at if you're not getting club bookings. But from my understanding as well, a lot of DJs aren't getting club bookings at the moment. It's kind of hard. You don't really see a DJ, even a big name DJ, getting 3 bookings in a month. Yeah, you're lucky to see that, unless if they're just like a superstar level. But or if they're local, if you know what I mean. But you don't really see a DJ here, there, and everywhere anymore. 3 times a month. But so I'll do like corporate events here and there. But more time I'm in the studio making songs, and I'm just looking forward to my next few releases.
Any insider info onto what to expect from you production wise in the next couple of weeks and months?
Next few months. Well, I've got a release that just come out last month called Love Is Like, featuring a young artist called Charmaine. She's from Peterborough. She's amazing. Like her songwriting skills, especially for a teenager, is up there. And then my next release is featuring a Canadian artist called Jenna Benet. Like she's starting to get her name out there. Like she's so talented to the point where I would want her in the UK. Like, I think she's someone that I could work with on a consistent basis, because she's not just got a musical talent. She's very good with her vision.
Yeah,
she's like a video director at the same time. So you just don't see that in the UK. Like someone who's directing their own videos and like bringing things alive. So yeah, man, I'm looking forward to the project coming out with her in the next few months.
Sick. So yeah, I mean, obviously got into it with your career, spoke about, you know, how long you've been in the game and everything else. In terms of, you know, switching off and having a bit of you time, obviously I know you've got little ones and stuff, and
Yeah.
the life is obviously always going to be busy, but how do you like to unwind and you know, maybe get away from music for a little bit? What are you interested in outside of, you know, just production and DJing and stuff?
Yeah, I've got an expensive hobby buying fragrances all the time. Nah, I'm always
I noticed that actually. I noticed you put up about the I don't know
the
which
Jean Paul
version of,
Gaultier.
yeah, because I still to this day, bro, I still rock the original. Like
You
that's
still
me.
hear that?
Mate,
Yeah, that's a
literally
ultimate red
I've got
flag.
a bottle of it on the table just over there.
Yeah, I'm not wearing it after this weekend gone. I've got the Parfum version, and even then it was just like, nah, my ex wears that. But
So it's
but
not what it was. Every time you went, like, you know, obviously like not even chatting up women, but just like being next
no,
to them,
no,
they could smell it and it's
yeah,
like,
yeah, they can come give me a hug and say, "You give me memories of my ex." Like, you're wearing Jean Paul Gaultier, aren't you? Like, I was like, oh man, yeah, you know what? Nah, you know, I can't wear this again. I really can't. And it wasn't the OG version. It was the new refined version. So I was
yeah.
like thinking, like, how? Like, I don't see the complete similarities. There's a difference, but yeah, they don't see it. They just smell that DNA and know it's that. But
Yeah.
so yeah, I like fragrance collecting, and I'm more of a series person as well. I like watching a lot of different series. So I would like watch from a BMF to, you know, a Game of Thrones type of program. You know, just like whatever popular
Yeah.
in documentaries. But yeah, that's a very rare occasion.
Did you
And because when I do that, I just binge.
did you catch Squid Game?
Yeah, yeah, I caught a good game. I
What
was
do you
quite
reckon?
early on that. I liked it. It was just good for watching. Like, you just didn't need to think too deep about stuff. It was just enjoyable to watch.
Yeah, I was going to bring up something to be super cruel, but I'll bring it up just for the sake of conversation because we can roll a little bit longer. We're done just under an hour. So,
Yeah.
Saturday, I'm a Liverpool fan. Where do you see? Because I've seen big progress. I know you're a big Arsenal fan, and
Yeah.
I've seen big progress in the last couple of weeks with your team.
Yeah.
Are you Arteta out, or are you still sticking with Arteta in?
Nah, I'm sticking in with him, man. Like, I don't believe in sacking managers just like that. I know I joke a lot about saying, yeah, I'm going PSG and whatnot. Like, I say those lone moves, but at the end of the day, like, Arteta, I think he's got a really good plan. I think he's intelligent enough, assertive as well. I think his player ID's one of the best in the Premiership. Like, you know, picking out players, because he's not picking out players for right now. He's picking out players for the future, and
Yeah.
he wants those players to grow with the players he's already got. So
I,
yeah, I
I
think
see a lot of promise in Arsenal. I mean, when I was watching the game the other day, I didn't watch it live. I had to watch it back because,
yeah,
for whatever reason, I had a third COVID jab on Friday, and my entire system decided to tell me to go straight to bed and not wake up until Sunday morning. So, so yeah, I missed the game, but I rewatched it Sunday morning, and I noticed that like the first half hour or so, you lot were really keeping up with us. And I think, to be honest with you, like I know the scoreline was what it was, but you played us. That was at our absolute best, in my opinion. Like we switched it on after that first 30 minutes. And when you're playing at Anfield against that team, like
mm,
it's very, very difficult to not get overwhelmed. So,
mm,
but in watching the first 30 minutes, you were keeping up with us. And there were times where you broke through our press and you could see that the chances are there. So I think in terms of progress, as much as I hate Arteta because he used to play for Everton, I think he's probably the right man for you lot, to be honest with you.
yeah, I think so. And you know, I can't really take too many positives out of that game, but we could just use it as a benchmark against Liverpool. When you think about this Liverpool squad at the moment, they're probably one of the best ever teams in Europe.
Mm.
Like European football history. Like, they're up there with the Bayern Munich's when they had Robin and Ribery, the dominant Barcelona, the dominant Real Madrid. That this is Liverpool, even the dominant Man United. this Liverpool squad at the moment is up there with them.
Yeah, I'm never really a big fan of comparing anything past maybe 3 or 4 years ago, because football evolves every couple of years. It changes so
Yeah,
much.
yeah,
But yeah, no, I think we could definitely say that we could hang with the majority of the best modern teams. Obviously, we've proven that.
yeah, yeah.
Still areas to improve. But yeah, as I say, you guys came up against that at Anfield. In all being fair, you could have come up against Watford at Vicarage Road and got your pants pulled down like certain other
Yeah.
man did. So when you look at comparisons side by side on exactly the same day, could always be worse.
Yeah, it could always be worse. The
Who
thing
do
is,
you think United are going to get in though? That's the big question for me.
I think they're going to get Poch. I
Really?
think he's the only person that really can work with them. But you know what? United will have to have a big change in structure as well. They're, how they buy players, who they bring into the team from their youth academy. Like football's changing now. Like you can't be just spending money all the time and thinking it's going to work, because it doesn't.
That's
No,
the
they've
thing.
got Cristiano and
Yeah,
it's not happening.
I think he's probably caused more problems than he solved, in all honesty. With Poch, the thing that's interesting for me about that is, will he stay at PSG on what's clearly a ridiculous wage, with the possibility of making history and being the first guy to win in the Champions League and stuff like that? Or does he go somewhere like United that you can't really say they need a rebuild, because they spent more on players than pretty much anyone else? They've got the team there, but in terms of football and identity and actually the way they play, that's where they need a rebuild. Does he really leave the comfortable life for the struggle, or does he stick it out at PSG and see what riches come his way? Because he's the kind of guy that he could win stuff at PSG and then end up at a Real Madrid or another massive team. He doesn't have to go to United right now. And if he goes to United right now, and he doesn't make it a success, could that hinder him?
Yeah. I think if he goes there, it will be possibly by next season. I don't think he'll go right away. I think Man United would just have to deal with interims. See Bruce.
Yeah, Steve fucking Bruce. Imagine that. How the mighty have fallen.
Yeah. It's sad to see though, because
no,
I'm gonna tell you why. Like, I do like that specific competition. I like those teams that were there in the beginning, that were playing really good football. They were dominant, like the Arsenals, the Liverpools. Well, Liverpool's in there now, but Man United. But now all of a sudden you've got these big rich teams coming in, like Man City. They didn't really build to that. They just kind of bought their way into it. Like, you knew as soon as they got them big rich owners, they bought Robinho right away, and you knew what was going to happen. It was only a matter of time until they're going to be very dominant in the Premier League, and now that's going to be Newcastle.
Yeah, it's interesting. I wonder how that's going to pan out, because I know we've got FFP and stuff, but there's still, there's going to be ways around where they can just spend at least 200 mil this season and then probably the same again next season.
Yeah.
It'd just be interesting to see if they stay up this season.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you could be seeing Mbappe playing in the Championship next season.
But you know what it is with financial fair play? It means the money that's coming in, right?
Yeah.
So, your revenue. And one thing about rich people, they always get rich people. They always attract more money regardless. So, yeah, they're going to be all right.
And Newcastle, they've got a huge stadium and they sell out every week, so it's not
Yeah.
It's not beyond the realms of possibility for them to actually, in some way turn around and say, well, we'll just spend all of the revenue, and then they've got rich owners to back it all up, I guess. So
yeah, exactly.
If they spend every penny that they earn, then if things go wrong, they can always dip into the owner's pocket, I suppose.
Yeah. Who do you think is going to win the league this season?
I can't see past Chelsea doing it, to be honest. I think it's going to be a struggle. I mean, we've already kind of fallen off because we had the loss to West Ham and a draw, which is crazy because we've lost one game. And Chelsea have lost one game as well. But we've had too many draws, I think, to catch them up. It will take a real dip from them for us to be able to catch. It's not in our hands, let's put it that way.
Yeah.
City are going to be there or thereabouts. But again, I think us and City are going to have to rely on Chelsea falling rather than us catching them, because they're pulling. I think they're going to start to pull away, and I think they'll start to pull away by mid to late January. I think us and City will struggle a little bit more. We're not quite at our best. Our midfield depth isn't quite what it should be. Losing Wijnaldum, I think, has hurt us a bit. And City, for me, City just don't look like. I know they're still getting the results and they're still up there, so obviously they are still doing well. But there's an edge to City that's not quite there for me anymore.
Yeah, no, Aguero, man. They've lost the golden players that the companies, David Silva, Aguero's. You know, when you lose that spine, you have to build it back up again and bring someone new who's going to be. You have to build a new spine now.
Yeah,
I think that's what happened to Arsenal. You take away your spine, you capitulate.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. Interested times ahead. Also really interested to see what Steven Gerrard could do at Aston Villa. It's one of them things where I was talking to one of my managers at work, and he's a big Liverpool fan. And I said to him, it's a risk, you know. And similar to what I say about Pochettino, if Pochettino goes to Man United and it flops, it's career damaging for him. If Gerrard goes to Villa and it flops, he might never get the job that he really wants, which we all know is the Liverpool job.
Yeah.
If he stuck it out at Rangers, won a 3 more league titles, came to Liverpool, stayed there for 3 years, if he flopped, we'd forgive him and he could leave and walk away, knowing that he tried. But I think that if he doesn't do well at Villa, which I hope he does, but if he doesn't do well there, then it could damage his reputation in terms of being able to take the Liverpool job. So I wish him well, because I'd love to see him, you know, come in after Klopp and stuff. But yeah,
it'd be very good for him to go to Liverpool. Like, even as I'm a football fan first, so I would love to see Gerrard at Liverpool. Like, he was just, for me, Mr. Liverpool. For the last for this generation, Premier League times, yeah, he's Mr. Liverpool for me, man. I want to see him at Liverpool as a manager. It's always nice to see that kind of stuff.
I just worry that, you know, I think the Chelsea job was too early for Lampard. And I think, you know, obviously Gerrard wouldn't come to Liverpool for another couple of years at least, because Klopp's still there for another few years and blah, blah, blah. But yeah, I'm a little bit wary about these former stars, shall we say, going to their main club and becoming manager and not doing anything. Case in point, obviously, Ollie's been sacked. But in real talk, though, I love how United fans go on like this guy is their best ever player. He was like a fourth choice striker them times. Like,
yeah.
So, you know, it's literally like, fucking hell. It's not even close. He's not even up there like that. Do you know what I mean? In terms of great Man United players. So these people that are like throwing their toys out the pram and crying over what a fucking legend he was. Like, he stuck his leg out. Like, he stuck his leg out and scored a goal in the Champions League. Like, all right, it's cool, but is he really like one of the best of Man United's all times? No.
No, he's just like one of those mavericks, isn't it? He's a Man United maverick, I'll say.
Yeah. Rightly deserves his place in history, but yeah, I don't see where the hell he goes at this point. Like, I don't know. He's probably just gonna have to go back to Norway and chill for about 2-3 years.
You know what? I like him though. He's a nice character. Yeah. I think as a coach, he wasn't as bad as people were saying. Like, I think, there wasn't much identity at Man United, but you know, he got Champions League football 2 seasons in a row. He took them to a Europa final. Like, we haven't even gone halfway through the season yet. Yeah. You never know what can happen. So yeah, I don't know, man. I think media plays a big part of a manager getting sacked anyway, and social media. Like, everyone's got a voice, and you know, it just makes everything much more tense.
Yeah, I think it's a major difference now compared to what it once was. Social media as well, and yeah, I think the worst person who's suffered out of all of this is Gary Neville, because he's just getting hammered from all directions at the minute. So.
You know what? He's my favourite pundit, though.
I like him. I hate Man United, but I like Gary Neville. I think he's
yeah. But you know what? At first, the pundit that I didn't really like was Michael Owen. But when he dissects how teams play, I think he's the best at it. Yeah. He really knows the game, like, properly. Like, he sees things that other people don't.
his punditry is very good, but when they stick him on commentary, it's unbearable.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what about you? Who do you reckon's taking the Premier League this year?
I think Chelsea.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're just so well drilled, man. He's made Chelsea look like Bayern Munich, really. So yeah, I think they could go all the way.
Completely solid at the back. Well, mate, it's been a pleasure talking to you and
Yeah,
hearing
me
your
too, man.
story. And yeah, a little bit of football talk at the end there, because 90% of my listeners, according to my Spotify stats, are guys. So I'm sure it won't be too boring for people at the end of the podcast there. But
Yeah.
ladies, if you're not into football, we apologize. I know you're here for the music and the aftershave. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed the rest of the show. But mate, yeah, once again, thank you very much for coming on. If people want to get in touch with you, where can they do so, and where can they hit you up on the socials?
Yeah, all my socials are Fostell Music. So
Big.
yeah, hit me up there.
Superb. Season 2, episode 2 of the Over the Hill podcast with M. Fostell, aka DJ Naughty, aka Nate, aka the Aftershave Collector. We'll be back on episode 3. Thank you guys very much for locking in. Don't forget to subscribe, share the podcast. If you want to get in touch with us, the Over the Hill podcast at gmail.com. If you're a future guest, make sure you hit me up, or a potential future guest, make sure you hit me up if you've got a story to tell and I've not reached out to you yet. I don't want to reveal too much, but I've got some wicked guests lined up for the rest of the season, so stay tuned for that. And yeah, once again, big up man like M. Fostell. We're out.